Welcome to On Topic Retro, episode 12. I'm John Cummins, and joining me tonight is Adam Caporello.
Hey.
Hey. The other or second Caporello, depending on who you're talking to.
The other white meat.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man, I kind of figured that the way that Dan talked about this game that he would kind of want to be on here too, but I guess he didn't have as much experience with it as I thought he did.
He is a busy man. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah. Is he mobile again yet?
I'm not sure. Not going to air any personal business on the.
yeah. No, I was just curious. I
don't know.
hadn't heard anything from him about it. Anyway, hopefully he gets his situation straightened out and gets mobile again. We'll just leave it at that.
That's true. I mean, he tweeted about it, so it's not like we're airing anything he wouldn't want to share. But
no,
I think
I was just curious.
I think he's still on the hunt for or trying to decide whether to get a used car or fix the one that exploded on him. Best of luck, Dan.
Yeah, that's a good segue too. Speaking of explosions, we're going to be talking about Alien Hominid tonight, which is full of lots of explosions. This whole game is an explosion.
Yes.
But yeah, with this game, it was one that I really kind of missed out. Whenever it originally, I might have played it on the web when it was pushed, but I can't remember if I did or not. I played a lot of games on Newgrounds, but
yes,
I don't remember if this particular one was one of them. So I did some research. I bought a copy of it on PS2, got started, and then realized that there was a newer version of it that was released for Xbox 360, and it was like I think it's still today. I think you can go buy it. It's like $10. So it's definitely worth picking up if you don't still own a copy and you do have a Xbox. It plays really good. It looks good. I mean, as good as an HD version of this game could look.
Right.
But yeah, so all my experience is relatively recent that I had. Man, I really wish that we could have got Chris on here because he was like super excited, went out, bought the game, and like played through the whole thing in like a couple days, and was ready to come on, and then scheduling conflicts just made it to where it couldn't work. So
yeah, scheduling is tough, and it would have been really cool to have three like kind of different perspectives on it with him just kind of picking it up so recently and never having even heard of it before, from what I understood.
Yeah, no, as far as I know, he didn't.
That would have been awesome. To see somebody come in just completely blind, never having even heard of it before, and kind of hearing what their experience was.
Oh yeah. I told him just the short rundown. I was like, this is a very like run and gun Metal Slug type, game that, and he was like, oh, that sounds like what I want to play right now. So that's what he did.
Nice. Very cool.
And I do have like a little bit of he did post like a little post on there that I'll read after we get your experience with the game.
Well, yeah, mine's actually kind of a little bit opposite. I played it. I did play the Newgrounds game. I played so many games on Newgrounds. I have so many great memories of searching for just weird, interesting homebrew games and small indie games. There was so much available. I had like a backlog a mile long of games that I wanted to try and play. And this was one that really stood out to me, and eventually came to learn that it was coming to consoles, and I was like, oh sweet, can't wait for that, because I was just had freshly gotten a GameCube. There was also a PS2 in the house, so we kind of had our pick of the litter when it came to games. And it came out on GameCube and PS2 in the States, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't actually get the Xbox version.
No.
which I did eventually have an Xbox as well. But so I picked it up on GameCube, probably on launch day or right around launch. And man, I played the heck out of that game. And it's one of those games that I think it spoke to me so much because the it's very similar to my early experiences with NES games, because it's like one hit kill. You just get good or you're gonna die and go back, have to start over from the beginning, right?
Yep.
So you know, I'm a huge fan of Metal Slug. I love a lot of the old run and gun games from the arcade and from my childhood on the NES, and so it just spoke to me. It spoke to that, and then of course mix that with the wacky, absurdist kind of Toe Jam and Earl style humor mixed in with that, and it's like, oh, this is my game. They made this game like specifically for me. Like I love everything about this. Just the little jokes here and there, just the goofiness of it all, the absurdity. I love it. And uh, I actually, didn't have a way to play it to get myself caught up for this episode. So I had to end up going back and watching some playthroughs on YouTube, and even just that was such a great nostalgia trip for me. Not having played it for close to what, um,
The
almost
game's
20
18
years.
years. Yeah,
Woo!
18 years old.
That's
So
hard. That's hard to wrap my head
actually,
around. But
the original version is like 20 years old. So
yeah, almost
yeah.
exactly 20 years old, right?
Yep.
So, which I did play. So, um, yeah, it's very fondly remembered by me, at least. And I never I never beat it. I never got to I had gotten so far in that game so many times. That's actually one that I was never able to fully beat and complete the game. And so I am curious now, if it's something that I could accomplish.
Oh yeah. You'll have to go back. You could put it on an easier difficulty even, you could
No. Keep it on
they have at
normal.
least like two or three different difficulties you could play it on,
Yeah.
if you're struggling, but it's it's definitely a fun one. And it makes you earn it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've got Chris's little uh, comment that left us on Discord, since he couldn't make it. And he says, I will say for Alien Hominid, this was a really cool game. I love the art style and the gameplay for the most part. I was able to beat the game on the easy level, but did get a little repetitive after a while. Over the top gore means I just won't share it with my kids. Which, yes, it
Yeah.
it does have some. I mean, it's I don't know if I would call it over the top, but it can be kind of gory, like as far as the blood splatter and stuff. But like, it's very
Yeah.
cartoonish.
Yeah, it's cartoony gore. It's like it's like itchy and scratchy gore.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like pretty small kids, yeah, maybe like there's like I think they would have a hard time even being able to put together what things are in the game. Like it's with the drawing,
Right.
like there's a level where there's like a wood chipper, and you're like
Yeah.
putting guys in, but like it's just a red box that says wood chipper. So I don't know that like a kid would even be able to put that together.
Right.
But no, it's all good fun. But I could definitely see what he's talking about. It does have a little bit of gore to it. Um,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah,
he's
so
got the
oh,
little hominid has a little knife, like
oh yeah,
the close quarters attack, and
yep,
it's like, if you're far away, you're shooting the little, phaser gun, whatever he's got. But if you get up close, it turns into a melee attack and just slices people in half.
yes,
Just shink, just slices them straight through.
it's
Um,
fast too.
and Metal Slug is because it's the same way. It's like over the tops, but like silly,
Yes,
cartoonish gore. Cause kind of gross in places. So it fits the genre quite well. The arcadey, um, cartoonish, violent shooter.
yes. Man, Metal Slug's another one that eventually I'll have to do a show on because that's another one of my favorites from the good
Heck
old
yeah.
golden Neo Geo era of games.
You'll probably find me on that I'll be clamoring to be on that episode. I
It's
love
probably going to
Metal
be
Slug.
you and Chris all over again. You guys are
All
like
right.
my old school run and gun. Like he had to be on. He was the one that requested the Bionic Commando episode. Like he's all about those
Good dude.
classics, one hit kills.
That's one of those Wii games that I'm still on the hunt for, and one of the first Wii games that I remember purchasing is that Metal Slug anthology.
Yep.
That's a awesome collection. Um, and I know that it came out on other systems, but that's probably the best way to play Metal Slug at this at this point, unless you want
Yeah.
to. I think you can. I think you can buy them all individually on Steam or something, but yeah, having them all on
Yeah, we're
one
really
disc
kind of
like
missing
that.
a good collection on modern consoles, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't seen them do anything with it in a while. So they're
I think the one for the Wii came out also on PSP, maybe even
yep.
PS2.
Yeah, it was on PS2, and yeah, you're right. They did put it on PSP. I get notifications for it all the time uh on my Mercari app
Okay,
because
buy this PSP game and you don't have a PSP.
no, I want the Wii one. Just I mean, if I created better notifications, but
Yeah.
it's just sending me anything that says
Maybe it's
Metal Slug
they might just
Anthology.
be telling you that you need to buy a PSP finally.
I have bad experience. Well, we're getting a little bit off track here, but really quick because I tweeted about it a little bit uh, earlier today. But I was a GameStop manager when the PSP came out, and man, those early days of the PSP launch, I had never seen so many new defective systems in my life. They came back in droves to the point where corporate had to send us guidelines on how defective a system could be before it was eligible to
Before you would
be.
take it.
Yes, so oh man, it's nightmare. I'm sure they got better, later on in the system's life, but yeah,
Yeah, I
I was tainted. My experience with the PSP was tainted because of that.
I think mine's the newest version, so I'm hoping that by the time that they, made it there, that they got rid of most of the bugs. I don't have any problems out of mine other than the OEM battery's dead, so I have like an aftermarket battery, and it just will not hold a charge. So like,
Oh,
you can charge it and you can play it. If you plan on playing it for the immediate time after you're done charging it, it will last like 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. But if you charge the battery, you know, turn it off, come back to it a few days later, it's dead.
oh,
You
that's
can't.
not
It's like, yeah, and I don't want to just like keep it on the charger 24/7. So anytime I play my PSP, it has to be very intentional. Like I have to know that I'm going to play it because
right.
it's one of those deals. It's
Well, I
not. It's
guess
not
to
like your
segue,
Switch.
right, exactly. Yeah, the battery life was never that good.
No.
But I guess to segue back, and Dan just learned this very recently, but they actually did port the game to Game Boy Advance. There was a portable version of Alien Hominid, but just like the Xbox version, it did never come out in North America. It was a PAL only release, and it's not a cheap cartridge either. It's an
Yeah.
expensive one.
It's so weird how they release this. I know it was published by a few different people in different places. So and that could be publishers' preference of where they wanted the game to go, or maybe where they thought it would sell better in different regions. But
Yeah,
I it's very very weird that it just released for different things in different areas, but
yeah, I'm not
collectively it
sure.
released everywhere.
Right? Yeah, maybe they weren't thrilled with the sales numbers in North America. I don't
Yeah,
know, but it would have been nice. It'd probably be a little bit less expensive if they had released it in North America. But who knows? It's hard to say with these things.
Well, since we're go ahead and we'll move on to game discussion since we're kind of already getting into it anyway.
Sure.
The game was developed using Adobe Flash and released on Newgrounds in August 2002. So yeah, it should have been 20 years unless this thing was released, the last 6 days of the month. Um, but yeah, this is just a Flash game, drawn with, basically paint on
Mm-hmm.
a computer and then animated using Flash, and that's how it got its start. So this is really a, like, when you get down to it, it's probably one of the original like indie games,
Mm-hmm.
that got released to a console.
Yeah, it wasn't
Um,
nearly as common as it is now.
no, like this one's a pretty big deal, and it's a launched a company that we all enjoy other games that they've created today. And they're still going as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, kind of like we mentioned, it came out PlayStation 2 and Xbox in GameCube, and boy, that's kind of weird. Hold on. So PlayStation 2, GameCube in North America on my
Right.
birthday,
Oh,
November
nice.
23rd,
Nice.
2004. And then the Xbox would get a version in Europe on May 27th of 2005. So like 6 months later, which is pretty crazy too.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Game Boy Advance would not get its copies until 2006. So Europe got February 3rd of 2006, and then over a year after that, it received the Game Boy Advance got a version in Australia on April 4th of 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty crazy. That's a good spread for that Game Boy Advance game. And in 2007, that's like 2 years, 2.5 years after like the release of the DS. So,
Yeah.
and really even the original, uh, the European Game Boy Advance version came out like a year after the DS. So that's pretty late. Even that's probably another reason why the game's so high price wise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it, as we already mentioned, it got its very last release uh, in 2007 on the Xbox 360, and that one was released worldwide. So they finally got it right. Went with one publisher and put it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Except for I'm assuming that Xbox had some kind of exclusivity on it, so that's where it went, just to Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of. I know the PS3 did end up kind of scrambling to do something similar, but 360 was kind of the first real um, online console
Yes,
game marketplace where you could download games.
I would say that's a big part of it because this would have been very early. February 28, 2007 would have been very early in the PS3's life. And I don't even know if they had the PS Store. Like, I don't know when the PS Store came about
Yeah,
at
I'm
that
not sure
time.
about that either, but I mean, 360 came out first anyway. Um, so that was also kind of an on the cusp thing to
Yep.
you know was almost certainly one of the first instances of an HD remaster, if we want to look at it that way.
Yeah. It would have been just, it would have been a remaster for sure. I mean, it makes it look slightly better. This is still, in all intents and purposes, a Flash game.
Right.
So it's kind of like HD's kind of like, you're not really getting
All
a whole
right.
lot from the HD version. You could totally play this on any of these platforms and it would be, totally recognizable and play good for you.
Right.
And kind of as we mentioned before, Alien Hominid began as a Flash game. It was developed and programmed by Tom Fulp uh, who was the owner administrator of Newgrounds, I believe, uh, and also animator Dan Paladin,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and is often referred to as the Alien Hominid prototype by Behemoth, because it was a prototype for just like them getting up and running with Flash games on this kind of
Yeah,
scale.
and the Newgrounds game was not nearly as
No, it
large and
was
fleshed
it
out.
was a lot
It was
smaller.
it was only like it was. I remember playing it, and it was like there was really not that much to it, right?
Yeah,
At
that
least comparatively to the console game that eventually came out.
it wasn't anywhere near the size of that. It was one level, had two bosses, um, and then later we would see that uh, the level and the two bosses come to the console game. Uh, but I mean, this was also like this thing blew up on Newgrounds. It said,
Yeah.
at the time of the whatever article was wrote for Wikipedia, the Newgrounds version had already like had over 20 million plays,
Oh wow.
which is pretty insane for back then. With something the way it is and how simple it was. And then they go on to mention that like later in that year they worked with a another guy named John, I guess Bays, and uh, they kind of got together and decided, hey, this would make a very good like console game, and like further create more content for it to flesh it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I guess the this John Bays guy helped them produce the game as well. So, and
So they got
this
that
whole
funding.
this whole joint relationship between these three guys is basically how they ended up forming Behemoth, which would give
Mm-hmm.
us games like Castle Crashers and
Yep.
what's there's another one that's more recent. Um, Gosh, what is it? I'm trying to think.
Um,
They just gave
it,
us.
it was Battle Block, right? Battle Block something.
Uh, Man, my mind just
Battle
went
Block
toward
Theater.
Battle Block Theater. That sounds familiar. I was gonna see. Let's see. We got
It was a Xbox Live
2018.
arcade game.
I thought we got something more recent than. I guess they've re-released Castle Crashers,
Yeah.
uh, and then they also put out a game called Pit People, and I didn't play that at all, so I have no idea what that one is.
Yeah, I think that was their fourth game, right?
Yes.
After Battle Block Theater. Um and yeah, unfortunately, well, I should say unfortunately for me, I never ended up getting back into the Xbox ecosystem after the original console, so I never really got to play any of these games after Alien Hominid. Um
Man, you
but
missed Castle Crashers was amazing. Like it was
yeah,
so
and
much
that
fun.
was I remember reading about it and seeing things online about it, and I was really hoping that I had like a friend that I could go to their house and play that because I was not in the Xbox ecosystem at that point. But the good news is, um, at least as far as we still know, because it's been a couple years I think since we've heard anything. But they are apparently, unless something has changed and not announced otherwise, still developing Alien Hominid Invasion,
Yes.
which apparently is in development for Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully, it's still in development. I think they announced it like 2.5 years ago. So
Yeah.
I hope they're still working on it. I haven't. I should have gone and like I don't know if Behemoth has like a Twitter page or something, but um, that's the last thing that I think has been officially announced.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any delays, but that doesn't mean anything. So hopefully it's still on its way, because I would like to pick that up for the Switch, or just something that's more modern to play it on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be like a more like a remake than a remaster. Like it's a
Right. Yeah, it's a
reimagination of the
new
game.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm on their Twitter page right now, and it looks very much like a new and updated Alien Hominid. Looks really, really cool. But yeah, their pinned tweet here with this is still from like February 2020. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been a
It's
couple
been a little
years.
while.
But yeah, they're still apparently dropping regular little mini updates here and there with like artwork and info and stuff like that. So it's
Eh,
definitely on its
I'm sure
way.
we'll get it. Yeah.
Um, and it's cool that it's coming to Switch. That'll be a nice homecoming for me. It'll be the first time I've played a Behemoth game since playing Alien Hominid on the GameCube.
20
So
years later.
yeah, exactly.
This will probably be
Hopefully,
2020, or it'll probably be 24 before we before we get it.
probably we could get it next year at some point. But yeah, it's
Maybe that's the
certainly
plan. Maybe 20th
maybe.
anniversary, they're going to kick it out.
Either way, I'll be excited to pick it up. What the little video clip that I saw, it does look like a reimagining of Alien Hominid, but the style, the visual style is still intact. So that's cool. So can't wait for that. That is now on my radar.
Like we needed more things
Yeah,
to play and
exactly.
put on our radar.
But I never would have, looked this up and known about it if we hadn't done this episode. So thank you,
That's,
John.
that's right. Well, now everyone else can go look it up and keep track of it.
Heck yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's basically the development of the game. Like it was a pretty neat deal, and like I said, it's a pretty early. I don't know if it's hard to ever put a title to, like, the first
Right.
ever indie game, but definitely a very early indie game, like uh, of big stature, and um, ended up creating a new studio in the process that put forth. I mean, Castle Crashers was like a huge game on Xbox 360, so
Yeah.
very successful. So I mean,
I
these are
mean,
always pretty
I
neat
would defy
stories.
anybody to name another indie game that came out for the GameCube off the top of their heads
Yeah, not
without
not
looking
very
anything
many.
up.
But with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and move on to the very tiny, teeny bit of story that this game. There's really not even any story. Like, I
You
just
don't
put
need
a
a
little.
story for a running gun.
Yeah, I just put like a little blurb in here from what I found on the internet. It's just like a small rundown of what happens in the game. It's I don't even know if I would consider it a story, but for anybody who is not, even remotely familiar of what Alien Hominid is, and it just happens to be listening to this episode, um, Alien Hominid's like a little alien guy. He looks kind of like a termite, and he has crashed on Earth. And he awakes and finds that his ship has been taken by the FBI. It's really funny because then you get to see that part in the animation, and like
Hmm.
they just kind of like leave him on the ground, like he's looks like he's dead, and they take his ship
And they
off,
just take
and
the ship away.
yeah,
Yeah.
just take the ship. Yeah.
Can't leave
uh,
this alien technology lying around.
yeah. So later in the game, he eventually gets to rebuild his ship, but it's brought down by a Russian missile that's headed towards America. So he saves America inadvertently. uh,
Purely by
and then
accident, of course.
yeah, and then you spend quite a bit of your gameplay time in Russia fighting the Russians. And after that, you go to Area 51 and you defeat a spoiler kind of right here,
Spoiler
but you
alert.
defeat a mutated clone version of himself. And once you do that, then you're finally able to get your spaceship back and take off.
And
So
escape.
it's not a very like crazy, enriched story, but it's there and it's fun. Like it's just there enough to make the gameplay make sense, like that you're fighting for something.
Right. Like why you're
It,
in this particular type of level. Like why
yep.
does it make sense that you're in Russia or in the desert? So that makes it makes for some fun cutscenes too.
Yes, as I say, it makes for the humor. Like the humor starts to set in because this game is just like chock full of charm and humor.
Yes.
Coming even, and we've already talked about some of the little things, but yeah. So story pretty simple. So we'll talk a little bit about the gameplay. This will be like kind of the meat and potatoes of the game. I just put a little bit of basic information on here because, as we've mentioned, like it's a running gun, so it's a side-scrolling shooter. It's very
Hmm.
similar to Metal Slug, which we've already touched on. Where one hit will instantly take you out. Um, Something that is nice about this one that I don't think we get with Metal Slug, at least not until later in Metal Slug games, but you can actually play it with two players, which makes it pretty fun. Um, the the player I've never played this game two players, so I guess you're just another alien hominid, like there's just two of you running around.
You know what? And I know I have because I remember like having Dan over to play. I think so, but I don't really remember. It's
Yeah,
either shoot. Yeah, honestly, it's been
I'm
so
pretty
long
sure.
that I don't
Yeah,
remember.
and I mean there is like you do collect hats in this game, so maybe like you can just wear a different hat to differentiate you, but it'd be kind of hard to like
Yes.
tell who's who if you just look exactly the same as another alien hominid. But anyway, yeah, the whole point of the game is you're playing as alien hominid and you have to fight waves of enemies, which are usually some kind of version of the FBI, or
Hmm.
as we mentioned earlier, you'll end up being in Russia and you'll fight a lot of like they're not even like KGB type guys, but just
Just
like
soldiers.
very on the nose, like red soldiers with
Right, right.
the yellow Soviet sign.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you just fight waves and waves of guys. He has his little blaster, so that he kind of reminds me of like Earthworm Jim in this sense, like with the blaster.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, he also has a knife, so he can do some up close melee. You do get grenades. The
Right.
grenades are kind of hard to control, but
Yeah. Yes, it's hard to aim those grenades for sure.
yeah, there really is no aiming. You just kind of have to have a gauge for how far they fly, away
Right.
from you when you throw them, and it seems to kind of vary the more in the air you are. So
Hmm.
there's definitely a skill to using the grenades. Um, some of like I remember playing through like the first couple levels because they don't explain some of it. Like I didn't know you could roll, um, but that's one of his moves that he can do. He can kind of roll under things. And then I also didn't know at first, just by doing some button presses, that you can like dig yourself into the ground and like stay
Yeah,
under
you
there
can
for a
dig
little bit of
underground.
time
Hmm.
until you run out of breath,
Yeah,
which
there's
is
like a
probably like five,
really
6 seconds.
yeah, something like that. There's like it's before you start the first level, there's like a really quick little like like you could blink and miss it. It's like a really quick introduction to like what the buttons do, but it
Uh,
goes by so fast. I mean,
I
and
don't think
you're
it doesn't make you do them though to move on. So I might have
no,
like
it's like a
moved
quick
on
little
from that.
video.
Yep. That's probably what happened. I probably just moved right through it and didn't even pay attention.
It's probably skippable too, so that
Yeah,
doesn't help.
probably. Yeah, so you could roll around, you can jump, and you can bite enemies' heads off if you land on their heads whenever you're jumping.
Oh, right, because
Um,
you can actually like hop on their backs.
yep.
or you can hop on top of them.
Yep.
And
You
then
can
when you're
even
done with that, just chop their head off or bite their head right
yeah,
off.
yeah, exactly. And then well, like we were saying, you can go underground. You can also like pull enemies into the ground with you, and it's instant kill for the, you know, smaller enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And then this game has like some power up systems with kind of reminds me of like old shmups where like you can shoot the power up to advance it to a different stage depending on what what you're looking for. If you want the multi fire or rapid fire,
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of different upgrades that you can do by kind of shooting that little. And it's always like a little kid that's like giving it to you, like helping you out.
Yeah, the kid. Yeah, got a little human friend that helps you out along
Yeah,
the way.
that's right. But yeah, so those things are kind of funny. There is a shield, like you can earn extra grenades. Like the power ups, there's quite a bit of actual different
Mm-hmm.
power ups, including well, I think there's like and there's also a charge shot, which I always forget about. Like it's one of those things I'll get so used to going with the special ammo, and then I'll forget that he has like kind of like the Mega Man charge shot or like Samus.
Yeah, his main blaster weapon has a charge shot, which is of
Yep.
course always always really satisfying to use.
There's vehicles in this game, like tons of vehicles you can drive, like which is pretty amazing for like when you look at how this game works
Yeah.
and like how diverse the levels are and stuff, like with different vehicles you can drive. Like kind of we mentioned you can get in a UFO, and we mentioned the wood chipper. Like there's a portion of a level of where there's a boss that you fight a tank, and like you're picking up enemies, and like you have to drop the enemies in the wood chipper, or they try to
Right.
shoot your ship down, and then the tank will fire, and you have to grab his projectile and like drop it on him to damage the tank. Like the whole thing is pretty wacky. Um,
Lots of
it,
craziness.
yeah, there's even like a when you get into the Russia levels, like you can ride on a Yeti. Like,
Yes.
oh man, yeah, there's all kinds of goodness that you can find in the levels. And then there's like an achievement type system, like where you can unlock certain hats. As far as I know, like that, I don't think the hats actually like do anything. Like you can just wear them. Like it's kind of like a badge of honor that you collected
Yeah.
the hat.
It's like Among Us. They're just purely cosmetic.
Yep.
They're just silly.
So like I said, it might come in handy if you're playing multiplayer, depending on how similar the two alien hominids look. You could be like, oh, I'm the one with like the little frilly hat, or
Mm-hmm.
the top hat. There's all kinds of hats. I can't. I think there's. I tried to look it up. I think there's like over like 40 hats. It seemed like there's a bunch. Um, so also the main game consists of 16 stages. I believe it's like broke down between three different worlds. So you have like
Mm-hmm.
the first set of stages is all like you're in the U.S. and you're like trying to sort through the FBI, and then the second set of stages are you're in Russia and it's all like snow covered type levels
Mm-hmm.
with different things. All the bosses are like Russian related. Like there's like the little nesting doll bear guys.
Oh yeah.
Like there's the bosses get a little crazy too in this game.
Yeah, really creative bosses, actually.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, and then the last set of stages I believe is just like you trying to get to Area 51. So it's all
Yeah.
like desert type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The one that didn't really make sense, like the centipede boss that you have to fight, like I can't remember what the lead up to that is, but or why he's there. But yeah, you fight like a little, or actually, he's a big centipede boss, and he's pretty tough actually. Like his movements are kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, just some kind of mutated. There's something in the desert that's mutating
Yeah,
everything. I guess too much radiation from I don't know, from maybe the hominid's ship or something.
probably something. And then like most games, there are some like multiplayer modes. I didn't actually play any of these because, like I
No, I
said,
never did either.
I So I don't have any experience with them, but the three multiplayer modes are challenge, which I assume is like some kind of like uh, two player like points race or something that you're trying to do, or maybe it's like a see how far you can go without being killed or something. There's neutron ball and pinata boss, which those sound awesome. So I'm gonna have to like go back and look and see what they are.
Yeah, I know I've played the co-op of the main game, but I've never played any of those multiplayer modes.
And then it makes mention of like a PDA game that
Right.
features like 200 levels and a level editor.
Yeah, it's almost like I likened it to like the old like Tiger LCD games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like designed to look like that. Um and I actually played it quite a bit. It's actually really fun. I didn't really mess with the level editor too much. I seem to remember finding it kind of frustrating. But yeah, like the PDA game it's really just kind of a really simplified version of the main formula, the main game formula. But yeah, it's if you can imagine it kind of if you can imagine Alien Hominid for like a Tiger LCD
Yeah,
handheld.
that's what I was gonna say. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Hmm.
And then apparently there's an extra mode. I don't know if this is on the original game or if this
I
is
don't
like
think so
on
because
the
I don't remember that.
360. It's called All You Can Eat, and it's a retro. And there's also a retro mini game called Super Soviet Missile Master, which I think
I don't
also
know.
got its own release at some point,
Oh,
um,
nice.
if I remember right.
Yeah, it's been a while,
Uh,
but I don't know about if those were on the unless they were like unlocked after you beat the main game or something. Because I was never able to actually do that.
yeah, I should have went back and looked up some more stuff on the multiplayer, but since I didn't get to personally experience it myself, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had anything to really talk about with it anyway. But I definitely will have to maybe in the future try to get my son around to hooking up the PlayStation and playing it or the Xbox, either one,
Hmm.
and check those out because it's probably fun. I mean, if it's anything like the single player game, or it should be pretty good. Or even playing the single player in cooperative mode would be pretty fun, I think.
Right.
And my son is old enough; I don't have to worry about the gore part of it. He
Yeah.
would just think it's funny.
Yeah. It's just so cartoony as well. You know what I
It
mean?
it
It's not like
is.
you chop a guy in half and it looks red inside. It's like that's it. There's no.
Yeah, it's
It's
like you
not really
chopped up
gore.
some ham or like
Exactly.
like this game just the artwork is good like for what it is. Like whenever you really take a look at it, the game
Hmm.
is like buttery smooth. Like the controls work so good. There's never a
Yes.
time where you feel like you're out of control when you're playing it.
Right.
Maybe the only level I can really say that I had a hard time with was there's one where you're fighting like a robot that's and you're on a freeway and like there's cars all around you and you're like
Oh
having to hop from
yes.
car to car,
Hmm.
and there's like this weird like it looks like a bug, like a giant big robot bug, and it has like a stinger or like a knife or something that comes down, and he can like destroy the cars in one hit with this like knife thing. And
Yeah.
man,
And
that level's hard to navigate. Like you would destroy a car, or even if you just touch the road, like it just throws you back and like kills you instantly. And
yeah,
I was like,
instant death. There's some tough levels for sure.
yeah,
The only level that I remember really not liking is that I actually remember not liking the UFO level, where it's just kind of you're flying around
yeah.
with some really odd the controls. I
I think
never
you could only
really
go diagonal, can't you?
it's weird. The controls are I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to describe. a better way of doing it, but the just the controls were not what I wanted them to be. I had a rough time with the UFO level. Not an enjoyable experience. Other than that, all of the other, land levels are great, but flying in space with the UFO, I did not enjoy that level. Everything
Ah,
else super enjoyable, and it was all down to the controls. I just couldn't get the controls down.
yeah, from what I remember, like flying the UFO is a little divisive. Like I was thinking, I think you can only move like upward in a diagonal direction, and you kind of have to let yourself come back down and then go back in a different diagonal direction if you want to go to a different side of the map.
Yeah, something
Um,
is weird choices with the way that you're able to control the ship, I think, is what's frustrating about it.
but yeah, so I was trying to think of anything that we missed. And this was kind of a quick one, but like the game just isn't very long. Like you can sit down and knock this game out in like probably like an hour if you wanted
Yeah.
to, or if you're good at it. If you have to get good, it might take you a little bit longer, but
Yes.
it's a it's a pretty
Lots of
simple,
dying and
pretty quick.
replaying.
Yes, yeah. For me, even I think I even played it on like one of the easier modes, just to try to play through it a couple times, or before we talked about it a little bit, and there was still some, like I said, that one with the cars threw me, and that's pretty early on. I think that's only like third level, maybe like 1-3 if I remember right.
Yeah, it's still in that first world.
Yeah, in the first world, and it was tearing me up pretty
It's
quick.
tough.
Yeah, I used a lot of continues on that one area, and that's, I mean, you can completing levels can like give you one ups,
Hmm.
and like I think you can also collect some one ups in the game like as an item, but I think you can, if I'm not, if I don't know if I had to continue like enough times to get a game over, but I don't know if you have unlimited or how that works. I'll have to. I never did reach a game over screen playing it, so I'm not sure. And that might be something that's on the HD version. Maybe the original version was a little more harsh on that system, but
Yeah, again, I was never able to fully beat it, but that was on the GameCube version. So they may have let up on the difficulty with the later remaster. Who
it
knows?
could be.
I'd have to go back
Yeah,
and see. But I don't think you had unlimited continues. Again, it's been almost 20 years, so
man.
I
Yeah, I was
could
trying
be
to think.
remembering wrong.
Because like I said, I died several times on that one level, and I
Yeah.
know I had to use a couple continues, so I either got close to a game over or there isn't a game over, and you can just continue as many times as you want. So either way, it's even if you had to continue, like I said, it's not a very or start over. It's not a very long game. You should be able to get back to where you were.
Yeah.
Try again. That's kind of the whole point of it. Um, yeah, no, it's a fun game. It's definitely worth playing. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring some light to it with this show because um, I got turned on to it and just immediately got hooked. Like
Hmm.
I was having a blast with it. That's where I came from with it. Um,
Yeah. If you're a fan of those classic types of run and gun games, you're gonna love it because it just plays into the strengths of that genre and just throws silly humor into it, and it's just perfect. It's wonderful.
yeah, just the different scenarios that you come across with the FBI and stuff is hilarious. And
Hmm.
it's like I said, they didn't even care about him at the beginning. They just leave him there, take haul the spaceships off, and then like through the rest of the game, they're like trying to hunt you down. It's like they could have just picked him up with the spaceship, and the whole game would have been over. Well, I mean, that's about what I wanted to talk about with this one. So, if you can think of anything that we missed, we can go ahead and move to the outro. and get this thing rolling so people can listen to it.
Overall, I think it's a simple game. I think the only thing that I would highlight again is the animation. I think that it deserves, or I should say that uh, Dan Paladin deserves a lot of credit for the uh, the animation because it might not be hand drawn, meaning pen to paper, but anytime you have something animated, like we I was on here for the Earthworm Jim 2 episode, and we had a conversation not that long ago in the Discord about Wade Hickston's Counterpunch for the GBA, which is
Yep.
hand drawn. And I'm just a sucker for those. I was raised on animated Disney movies and other like the Don Bluth movies and stuff like that. So any kind of hand drawn or hand worked animation, that always feels really really good and looks really good to me. And even if it's something new, it just feels nostalgic. It has a certain human quality to it, that I don't think you can get with just rendered
Yeah.
animation, for
I mean,
lack of a
it's
better word. I don't know the terms. I'm not in that world enough to know what the different terms are. But when you've got something that's done by hand, it's got a human quality to it that I don't think you can recreate with anything, whether it's AI or or CG rendering or what have you.
no. And I mean, I like a lot of the hand drawn stuff that we get even today that's been brought to newer consoles or even new games.
Mm-hmm.
I just get drawn to hand drawn things. No pun intended. Like I really like. I've been on a kick like playing a lot of games that have like the no outline, like watercolor type stuff, kind of like Samurai Jack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, Play games like Okami looks like amazing in HD. And just recently, I got one that's a Chinese game called Bladed Fury that really reminds me of like that same kind of artwork
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
like
you
on that
turned me onto
hand,
that. It's still on my
yeah,
wish list. Yes, sir.
yeah, that hand drawn look is just a real stunning, like in your
Yeah.
face look that I really enjoy too. And this game would have been, at that time, probably pretty hard to put together. And going from Flash animation, I don't know what kind of process it takes to. I don't know if they had to like reanimate the whole thing, bring it over, or if it's something you could just kind of, fluidly bring over to consoles. But um, definitely just seeing the types of things that were going on with Flash animation, like I would have to imagine there was a lot of time put into creating this game,
Oh
on the
yeah,
scale
tons
that
of
it
work.
was.
Hmm. Absolutely a ton of work. So, um, glad that they're still around. It's nice to see. You know what I mean? That they haven't uh, they didn't fall prey to what we see a lot, where a small developer has a hit and then they either get bought out or absorbed by a larger studio and then dismantled, and then the magic is gone. It's like tale as old as
We'll have to
time nowadays.
we'll,
You know what I mean?
we'll
It's
have to
just
knock
like,
on wood that the Embracer Group doesn't try to pick them up anytime soon.
oh god, Embracer Group. um so hopefully we don't run into any issues with anything like that, and we do end up getting the new Alien Hominid game uh, on, again, it looks like Xbox, PC, and Switch. So I'll be looking out for that for sure.
Same here. Awesome. I think we've alien hominided the whole thing. I think we've made it.
We've
So
blasted it to oblivion.
we did. We blasted off. We've successfully found our spaceship or uh, flying saucer in Area
We
51. We're ready
stormed
to
Area
take
51.
off. Yes, which don't do that in real life,
No,
as we found out.
right.
Uh, but yeah, so we'll go ahead and move into the outro then. And I already gave you a chance for final words, so now I'll give you a chance. You can go ahead and just kind of promote what you do. I know you've been on here before and done it before, but if anyone else is new to this and this is the first episode they ever listened to, I want them to be able to trace away back to your content. So
Oh, well, it's uh not a big deal, but we have a section of the retrologic discord for retro groove, which is Liam and I, our little music history podcast, mainly pop music from the last 20 to 30, 40 years depending. And we just launched season 2 not that long ago, and episode 3 should be dropping. I don't know when this is going to go live, but we'll probably be dropping episode 3 of season 2 right around the same time. It should be out on Friday, the 26th. I'm
yeah,
not going to
so
reveal just yet what it's going to be, but if you've been in the Discord, you might be able to guess.
yes, I have a pretty good idea. I won't spoil anything on my thoughts, but this should be coming out relatively soon. I'm going to try to get this one up since it's already late. Um, wasn't
But
planning
we
on
made it
on
happen.
having to wait. Yeah, we made it happen anyway. This is one that was about to get put in the can and get put further off and just have something else come in its place. But we figured it out. We made it work. We talked about Alien Hominid. Um, you can. Do you want to say anything? You've been streaming a little bit here lately too, haven't you?
I've been on a little bit of a lull. I'm there's gonna be some bigger announcement at some point, and I'll do an official launch. I've done a couple of test streams here and there. That'll be forthcoming in the future as kind of a new thing. Still trying to get timing and format down right, because I like once I actually fully launch the Twitch channel, I want to be very consistent with it, as consistent as possible. And until I know I can be super consistent with it, it's kind of it's forthcoming, it's on deck, but it's not fully launched or fully ready to be launched just yet. We're getting there. Getting
Awesome.
closer.
Well, I was just making sure that I wasn't forgetting about it.
No, I
Um,
appreciate it.
but yeah, so when you do get that on board, we'll make sure to point everyone in your direction, and I'm sure you'll be on here again to highlight that whenever you are ready.
If we do anything Metal Slug related, I'm absolutely there for sure.
Yeah, I've got some of the oddball things out of the way that I wanted to do, and I'll probably do some more. Uh, I mean, mainstream is probably not the correct word, but get into more like Zelda and some more things that might more people might be interested in hearing. But I definitely got my little pack of things that I wanted to start off the first little bit of the show with
Yeah, and that
out
makes it
there.
unique. It's the niche stuff is more interesting to me anyway, to hear about some of these games that I might
Yeah,
not have ever played or even heard of. To me, at least, that's more interesting than hearing, the 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 37th iteration of a Zelda Ocarina of Time deep dive this month. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's like, all
yep.
right, let's hear about some of these obscure and underappreciated things that I might not know anything about or know very little about, and get to hear more about it. So I'm always down for something like that for sure.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I've been wanting to do, and I usually end up highlighting some of the more mainstream stuff with the retro rewind
Mm-hmm.
portion of the show, because it's usually tailored to the NSO apps on the Switch, or random hodgepodge of games that people could vote on that aren't necessarily on that, but it's usually some mainline games that I'll throw in there that the majority of people might have, or they're cheap enough and easy enough to get a hold of. So we'll definitely be seeing some more, you know, Zelda, or even like eventually I want to do an episode on like some of the older PlayStation properties and like early Xbox stuff. I'll have to
Nice.
eventually get Seth on again, and we can talk some old Xbox at some point.
Heck yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm definitely there for that as well, especially if you want to talk about something like Gun Valkyrie, or
yep.
some of those obscure, you know, almost like a I always thought of that as like a 3D run and gun, like a 3D version of a Metal Slug Contra type game, but like
Yeah.
in space with weird controls.
It does have some weirder controls, but like I went back and played a little bit of it not too long ago, and it's still there. Like it's still
That's
good.
the, if it wasn't for Jet Set Radio Future, that would probably be my favorite OG Xbox game.
Yeah, there's
Believe
so
it or
many
not.
good ones.
But yeah, I'd
Like
be down for that as well. Any of that stuff.
for sure. We're definitely. I mean, I plan on doing this. I've got plenty of games to talk about, so
Yes.
um, I don't think I'm going to run out anytime soon. So we'll definitely hit all those at some point.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me. Glad we could make it work for sure.
yes, and I always do this at the end of the show. Sometimes it bites me in the butt, like this one, because it would have been hard to move this one around since I already announced it. But this one will for sure come to fruition on time. I've got enough people that want to talk about it that I don't think I'll have any problems getting scheduling in.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I know Sam will be ready for the next one.
yes. So the next show's game is Eliminator Boat Duel, and this was another retro rewind game that the community selected to play, and it's on the Nintendo NES NSO app. So it's very widely available to anybody that has a Switch and a Nintendo Online subscription. If not, I don't. It's not terribly expensive if you wanted to just buy it on the NES, even. But definitely a great game, and we will be talking about it next time on the show. So
Awesome.
just floating that out there.
See what you did there.
Yeah, yeah.
Floating
All
that
right,
out there.
that's right. Yeah, definitely got some people signed up to talk about that one already, so we should
Nice.
be good to go.
Good.
But all right, with that, we're done. We did it. We made it through, and we'll go ahead and close this guy out.
All right.
So thanks for listening to On Topic Retro, part of the RetroLogic family of podcasts. If you'd like to send your personal experiences for the next show but don't have Discord, you can go ahead and send them right on over to ontopicretro@gmail.com. Um, if you haven't joined our wonderful non-toxic RetroLogic Discord and you would like to, you can visit retrologic.games for details on how to join for free. I also like to throw a link in the show notes, so it's usually there. Anytime you guys listen to this on any of your podcast listening apps of choice, it usually shows up on there as a link. So you can also just click that if it's easier. But I also don't want to derail anybody from going to retrologic.games, because there's lots of other cool content on there, including a blog that's done by the mole Sam Wagers, and you can also listen to all of the wonderful episodes of Retro Groove, and you'll find our flagship show, Retro Logic, Retro Game Podcast, on there as well. So all those fun things on the website, and very easy to navigate, and it's a very nice looking website that Dan's put together for us. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Agree.
go by and visit. And thanks for the tuning into this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye now.